of schools in Goffstown. You might want to put a post on Facebook on this one, Dave, because we'll probably have some of our friends in Goffstown who follow this stuff want to know what's happening.
Stacy Buckley update.
Stacy Buckley update.
Is that Stacy C-E-Y or
No,
C-Y?
C-Y.
I want to be grammatically correct.
Yes, when we're talking about the superintendent of schools. I am going to make an invitation to Stacy Buckley and Phil Pancoast. I think it's probably fair to say that we have been tough on these folks here on this radio show. I think it's fair to say that we have probably drawn conclusions about their either desire to be transparent, their knowledge of what they're doing, or their competency based on what we have had to fight through to get what are basic pieces of information out of them. And it dawns on me that maybe I haven't been fair in that. Maybe I should give Stacy Buckley and Chairman Pancoast an opportunity to come here on the show and explain themselves. So I will send a formal invitation to Stacy Buckley and Phil Pancoast and invite them to be guests on the show. And when I do, I'll post it up at Oh My Blog so you can see what I say.
If you get them to come on the show, I'm taking that day off. Just so you know.
No, we're just going to put a Kevlar vest on you.
Because you have a right to know that I won't be here that day.
That's all right. I'll bring my son in. He can run the
I think you've been, you know what? Yeah, you've been hard on them, but they've earned that. Have they not?
I think they have.
Actions earned that?
I think they have. And I think they have largely because you have to remember, going back to the beginning, that I started sending emails to Stacy Buckley because my phone calls requesting an interview weren't answered. So once we got on the email communication thing, it just kept going back and forth. And frankly, when you're digging at some of the stuff that we've been digging at, like, gee, isn't that weird? The vice chairman of your school board is casting votes on a process that could very well lead to her employer getting a bid that could be as big as $60,000. Wow. Aren't there policies against that? And then the whole, wait a minute, let's take a look at this process. What do you mean you're soliciting bids? Where's the request for proposal? Well, you don't have a request for proposal. Well, how are you supposed to determine who gets the bid if you have no request for proposal, standardizing the information you're looking for so that all parties can participate? Now, remember what we've gotten. Well, it doesn't reach the threshold, or, Keith Allard, a former chairman of the school board, in the newspaper saying, oh, well, yeah, it's a specialty service. We don't have to do it for a specialty service. It's not like the companies that we might use to provide the service are reading the local newspaper. Well, the one in Bedford sure as heck is. But they don't understand that it's not about trying to actually solicit bidders by publishing a bid or a request for proposal in the newspaper. Is about informing the public of what they're doing so there can be transparency in the process and confidence in the fact that an awarded bid will go to somebody who competed on equal footing with all other bidders. That's why you do it that way. Who knows what Stacy Buckley spoke about with the 3 different companies she solicited to provide these consulting services? Who knows what she told them she was looking for? Who knows what she told them what the qualifications needed to be? Who knows? And she won't release any of the documentation she has because it's still an ongoing bidding process. What I should do, now that she has shelved those, is I should demand she send the information under the right to know law. Because after all, they're no longer being considered. And even though she already outed who the companies were and outed what the cost for their services would be, and therefore, in my opinion, have made the information available in the public domain, she's refused to send the information. Well, if that's the case, if she's going through a formal request for proposal process now, and I asked her, okay, what are you going to do with those other bids that you solicited? She said, well, we're going to keep them on file. Why not get rid of them? Why not get rid of them? Okay, so now that I know on file, I know what my next request is going to be. So I sent a request to Superintendent Buckley. So what I'll do is I will send them a written invitation to be guests on the show as a way of explaining their procedures and what they're doing here and why they're doing it this way. I will give them, as I always do here on our show, and you know this at Girard at Large, you know this being in my audience, you know that we give people the opportunity to talk. Now, I'm going to have my questions for them based on what they say, but, you know, there have been a number of inconsistencies, and maybe we just need to talk to get it done.
Now, did this all kind of start, what was I can't remember the gentleman's name that put the bid in,
Van Hampton.
Van Hampton put his bid in. Is this when this all started kind of coming to the fore?
Well, no.
This guy offered his services for nothing
right.
to the town, and the town
right.
said,
and by the way,
we'd rather pay
despite
somebody.
what she said publicly, she never contacted him for an interview. Never. He has no idea whether or not his bid package was even ever open.
No phone call, no email.
Nothing.
And we're talking big bucks on this contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the
well, it's somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000 with the original numbers thrown out there.
So I call that a big number.
On the way to the request, okay, now I asked what will be done with the proposals submitted prior to the issuance of the RFP. They will be kept in our records, okay? Given that they were not solicited via a public process, why will they not be discarded to ensure that all bidders solicited via this RFP are in fact on equal footing? She didn't see fit to answer that question. She said it doesn't comply with the right to know law. It's not a subject of the right to know law. Were any bidders not solicited? She refused to answer the question about why she did not follow up with the 3 other bidders as she said she would publicly. She said it was not subject to the right to know law. And then on the final question about authorization, she's issued a request for proposal. I asked specifically, what authorization did you get to do that? I cannot find in the minutes that she sent me minutes to the meeting of June 4th. I read the minutes. There is nothing in those minutes that where the school board either requests or specifically authorizes her to develop and issue an RFP, and none was submitted to them for their approval. Not in those minutes, not ever. So I have read these minutes and can find no presentation of an RFP to the school board for its consideration, nor can I find a motion authorizing you to ever develop one for their review or issue one to the public. Absent this routine activity to issue the RFP, I'm obligated to ask just what you provided, how what you provided meets either the procedures of the school board or the laws governing the policies. Stacy Buckley responded to that one saying, quote, there is no law or regulation requiring a motion by the school board to create or develop a request for proposals. Now, this is the same person, mind you, that in an earlier exchange over, remember when we were informed that representatives of one of the bidders were at Mountain View Middle School allegedly consulting with staff over there? And remember we inquired about that? And she said, oh, that was for training. Really? Training? Who was being trained and what were they being trained for? What did it cost the district? Was there an RFP for that? Nope, no RFP. We don't have to tell you anything because it's training. I said, oh, okay, well then fine. Give me the manifest. Give me the invoices that were paid for the training. She said, oh, well, and the RFP that was done to solicit the training. Her answer was, well, we didn't solicit, we did not go through an RFP process. It did not meet the minimum threshold required to issue an RFP. Really? Okay, fine. There have got to be invoices. No, we don't have any of that. Hampton got a grant. The Hampton School District, all the way over there on the seacoast, got a grant. And we're using the grant that Hampton got to train our people here in Goffstown. Still waiting to get the financial information. She wants me to go to Hampton to get it. I said, really, the state law does not require me to go on a goose chase to track down the information that you are supposed to provide. And what kind of superintendent, frankly, doesn't know how much money is being spent on training for one of her people. What, you think you just called Hampton and said, hey, a little Jedi mind trick here. You will pay for our training, whatever it costs. I don't need to know. I mean, come on.
Now, these are phone conversations?
No, these are email exchanges.
Oh.
So I've got it all documented, and you can see it at my blog.
Because I was just wondering if at any point did she pause and say, yeah, that's the ticket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see it all at my blog. Speaking of my blog, I have gotten requests from people who wanted me to repost the articles that I wrote during the budget season here in Manchester. So I have reposted all of them, and there were many. But anyway, so Stacy Buckley, the woman who told me that the training did not, in cost, first she told me the training did not have a cost value that reached the threshold to issue an RFP, which tells me there's a policy there, right? Then she said, well, it was a grant from Hampton, and you should get the information from Hampton, even though the law obligates her to provide it to me. She now says there is no law or regulation requiring a motion by the school board to create or develop an RFP. So what's up with that?